What's up, guys, and welcome back to the DualSense podcast. This is episode number 85. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, this evening by Dying by the Light, also known as Travis. What's going on tonight?
Not a whole lot. I saw I saw a series of monkey videos. I wanted to tell you this is they're back to back two greatest monkey videos I ever saw. So the first one is a monkey on top of a roof holding like a butcher knife, which is hilarious to me because then I immediately went into like, what if monkeys became sentient?
Yeah, they made a movie series about that.
Right. So then we have serial killer monkeys, and you know how like human serial killers are always have three names, and if they don't, like John Wayne Gacy, and then if
Right.
they don't, they'll give him a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like the I-95 killer because we can't say his middle name or whatever for some reason. It's very weird how they do that. Anyway, so then like monkeys at the zoo always have one name, so it'd be like Jacko the monkey killer, and then like they finally caught Jacko, and he just killed like 35 teenagers. It just was funny to me.
Yes.
So then the next video. And this has two amazing parts. The next video, is a monkey pulls a baby off of a bench and starts dragging it away, like
Oh my
kidnaps.
God.
Right. The first amazing part was the parents did not react. You'd think like you would throw something. They just sat there. The second
way.
part, which I think is more amazing, is he rode up on a little bicycle.
The monkey?
Yes. He just rolls up on it and he jumps off, grabs a baby, starts pulling it off camera.
Oh my God.
It was amazing.
That's very Planet of the Apes, that one in particular.
Yeah, it was amazing because I literally went to like, monkey with a knife. Oh my God, it's a human. To the next video, it's a human. It's like right there.
He's committing a felony.
For sure. Yeah, I guess what's Monkey Gel Zoo?
Yeah, it's zoo. It's like your own thing at the zoo where nobody ever comes by to see you. That's what Monkey Gel is. When you first started off with that story, I thought you were going to say that you've been looking at NFTs. You're thinking about becoming an NFT bro.
No, I just know that whatever you do, don't do anything fungible with those.
Ah, yes, because they are non-fungible,
right?
As it were.
Don't do anything fungible. Don't use any fungicides. Whatever else you could think of.
Zero fungible, sir. All right, Travis. Well, anyway, we are a PlayStation podcast, and we promise that we are. And Travis and I get together every week to discuss all of the week's PlayStation news, rumors, new game releases, and much more. We sprinkle it with a bit of nonsense, and we post new episodes every Monday on all the usual podcast services around the world, as well as YouTube, where we also share game streams and clips. I've actually got to get a new one up tonight if I have time. You can also find us on social media, of course, on the Twitter at the DualSense Pod. We're also on Instagram, where I post some virtual photography occasionally, and we're on Facebook as well. And we also have a blog called the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.co. Just pick your weapon of choice there to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Talk PlayStation and video games. I'm trying to think of anything else here that we need to cover. I think that's about it from a housekeeping standpoint. So without further ado, let's jump into a pretty busy news week here, Travis. We got a lot of ground to cover. We have some very interesting things to talk about. Starting with number one. Our favorite industry insider, Mr. Tom Henderson, revealed this week that the long in development open world zombie RPG Dead Island 2 is still in active development and is in fact scheduled to release in the fourth quarter of this year. In a video on his YouTube channel, Henderson said, quote, "According to everyone that I've been speaking to, the game is in a decent state and it could be announced pretty soon with some kind of gameplay trailer. A release date is expected to be somewhere in the fourth quarter of 2022, possibly leading up to next year if there is any problems with the development cycle," end quote. We also learned a bit about the premise of the game from Tom, who added, quote, "You're on a plane and there's a zombie outbreak on a plane. Eventually the plane crashes into Hollywood, you survive, and it's then your job to survive on the ground," end quote. You may not recall, but Dead Island 2 was announced way back in 2014 and has suffered a tumultuous development cycle to say the least. The sequel was originally in development at Spec Ops The Line studio Jaeger, but was later taken over by Sumo Digital, of all people, before finally being handed off to Dambuster Studios in 2019 by the game's publisher, Deep Silver. Dambuster was formerly known as Crytek UK from 2009 to 2014 when they worked on the Crisis series, obviously. And before that, from 1999 to 2009, the studio was known as Free Radical Design and worked on the Time Splitters series that you may very well know, as well as Haze, which came to PS3. So, Dead Island, not quite dead, but it's taken 8 years so far. So, what do you think about this?
First thing, if you're ever bored, look up the Dam Busters from the Second World War. Very interesting.
Oh, interesting.
On the Dead Island front here, I would say that, we played a little bit of Dead Island, I believe the first one. I know you and Jacob, maybe John played a lot of it, but I definitely played
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit of it with you guys. I actually like it better than Dying Light.
Yeah.
I enjoy I guess you call it the crafting of the weapons. I thought they were more fun and more creative.
Yeah.
Especially I had like an electric hatchet, I think.
Yes.
And I just remember like walking through the island and you had like these little raised up pavilions and little houses
Hmm.
like over the shallow water. And I remember just like wreaking havoc and it was a blast. So
Yeah.
I am a bigger fan of this than than Dying Light. So I hope that this is true. I hope it comes through. I hope that it pushes through. Like you said, this came out in 2014. Like, hey, we're making a Dying Light 2. Cool. It wasn't COVID's fault for once. So
No. Yeah.
yeah, I
True.
mean, this has been delayed for 8 years basically, at least. So I would not expect it. It's hard for me to believe it will be here in the fourth quarter of this
Yeah.
year. I would say we'll get a lot of noise about it coming up in the next, like probably quarter two or quarter three. I don't think we'll see an actual release date until next year. Would be my guess. I just don't. It's hard to imagine that we're getting. If I was them, I wouldn't want to release it anywhere close to Dying Light. I would want to push it a year out. That's just what
Hmm.
I would want to do. But that being said, I mean they have been. It has been in development for 8 years, so I could see a developer being like, "Look, let's just like, let's get this off of the books, right?" So
Right.
I don't know what I think about that, but reading through this though, I am excited. I think Hollywood will be really cool.
Yeah.
How does Dead Island work in Hollywood? It's not really an island,
True.
literally, but I mean, maybe metaphorically, you're on an island. So anyway,
Mm. Mm.
I think that it could be really cool in Hollywood. That'd be a really cool setting. You could just imagine, running around and you're passing, the Hollywood sign and the theaters and all the golf courses that could be used as public space. So all the
Mm.
homeless people that were now zombies. So it'd be kind of interesting. But no, I think this is cool. I'm excited for it. I hope it actually. I hope we actually get there this time.
Yeah, this is very out of the blue. We haven't
Right.
heard. I mean, literally, we haven't heard anything about this game in so long, other than just rumors and studio changes, as I wrote up there. But yeah, I do remember playing the original with you and Jacob. Jacob and I played it a ton, and you joined in with us as well. But it does hold a special place in my heart as well. And just I remember it's one of those games that makes you want to loot everything and like open every bag and everything.
Right. 100%. Yeah, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, I don't know, especially if you're OCD like me. But I think the original was set on Hawaii. I think it was in Hawaii. I think it was the backdrop for that, or maybe it was an island that was supposed to be Hawaii.
Mm.
I don't remember for
They
certain,
didn't
but
have the rights to Hawaii,
maybe not. Who does? But
not the
I
not the indigenous Hawaiians.
but I'm very, very excited about this. That this is not dead, and it sounds like it's actually going to make it out. I think the fourth quarter is actually an interesting time to release this because it's kind of like the original Dying Light, in my opinion. Like if they can release this game in like January
Mhm.
or even December, after all of the other big shit is out that's coming this year, I think that'd be a great time frame to do it. And it could catch people by surprise. And I almost think you need to do that with a game like this. It's literally been dead, no pun intended, or maybe it is intended for so many years. And I think you got to do something that gives it the best chance for success. To get some oxygen around it and give it some room to run. But I don't know a whole lot about Dam Buster other than what I just wrote up there that they did Time Splitters and Haze. So I don't know if they're up to the task necessarily. I guess they worked on Homefront before this. I don't know if I wrote that in there or not. Probably not. They worked on the Homefront series. I think they made Homefront Revolution. So that was what they were doing before they made this game. Homefront Revolution is very middling, I guess, very mediocre. not very well received. So hopefully they can pull it together for this and make a good sequel to a very beloved game. And one of the best announcement trailers of all time. I don't know if you ever remember seeing the original Dead Island announcement trailer where it was like moving it backwards. It was cinematic and it was moving backwards through time and it had like this orchestral music to it. It like broke the internet when it came out a long time ago. Anyway, we'll see. Hopefully it makes it out this year, but very exciting that it's not Dead Island. Number 2, Sony Interactive Entertainment revealed a new AI breakthrough this week called Gran Turismo Sophie. Sophie is a collaborative project between Sony AI, SIE, and Gran Turismo developer Polyphony Digital that according to Sony AI Chief Operating Officer Michael Springer, produced, quote, an AI agent that learned to drive by itself at a very competitive level and is able to compete with the best GT Sport drivers in the world, end quote. Polyphony Digital began large-scale testing of the AI in January of last year, and then underwent its first real test in July when Sophie raced in time trials against a team of real players that included the top Gran Turismo Sport driver in the world, Takuma Miyazono. Today, Sophie can now imitate real player behavior to create more realistic competition. So, what do you think as our expert here?
Well, I wondered when we got a delay. You always have a hope in the back of your head the delay means something cool's coming, like whatever it is, because they're going to deliver on graphics and cars, and we knew the weather thing was coming, that type of thing. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of awesome to see that this is a thing. And, there's a lot of people that kind of criticize it, like, what's the big deal about having an AI that can actually drive? Well, it is a big deal. So like, there's applications that this could be used for in a lot of different ways. The application could be transferred theoretically to a self-driving car system and be applicable in the real world. But aside from that, in the video game realm, like it's easy to make an AI that follows a predetermined route on a race, right?
Right.
You see that with Grand Theft Auto. You can watch videos about how the cops move on Grand Theft Auto. It's because it's a predetermined route. So most of the racing games that you see, that's what they are on. They go from point to point to point, and they have a little bit of leeway or coding in how they can move, but it's not realistic at all. So what this provides is a way for the AI to kind of understand and predict what a human could do, because humans compared to an AI are much more variable. Like, it's really hard to predict what a human will do behind the wheel, which is one of the difficulties with self-driving cars. So
Right.
this is a breakthrough technologically. Like, this is pretty amazing. My bet would be that it's really hard to beat them, because if they're racing in a time trial with Takuma, who is badass, by the way. Like, when you watch him play, he
Yeah.
doesn't fuck up. It's pretty annoying. If they're learning from him how to drive, yeah, like, we'll never beat them. Like, it's not a thing.
Right.
But what's interesting about it is, right now, like on GT Sport, or even when you're sim racing in any way, how you learn how to race is you just turn laps and you find nuanced areas where you can be faster. And maybe you look up on YouTube to learn some setups or watch some people's lines. So, like, a lot of times what I would do in the manufacturer series or on the weekly races is I would just watch the, top 10 fastest qualifiers. I'd watch some of them and see what their lines were, their shift points and stuff. With an AI that understands how to race, I can now do a time trial and just follow the AI. I can learn from the
Mm,
computer, and I think it'll be an easier way to learn, and it'll be an
gotcha.
easier way to learn to race in traffic too, because it'll understand how to move and be respectful and not, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it should make the game more competitive in a lot of ways. I think it's amazing that they even came up with this. Like, one of the big things I've always wanted was to be able to race offline
Mm-hmm.
competitively with an AI that understood, like, strategy. And this seems to be a real thing now. Like, even if you play F1, the AI sometimes will get stuck at Monza because it's a street circuit, and it will get confused, and it will, like, basically literally create a traffic jam. And if you can manage to figure out a way to get through it, you can just keep turning laps and win the race, and they'll be stuck on like lap 3. And there'll be like a yellow
Wow.
flag, but like the game also won't red flag it. So it's like, to avoid all of those things, you're creeping closer to, like, having a legitimate immersive experience, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So obviously, this means nothing to me for Gran Turismo itself, but what excites me about it is the application that it could is the thought of applying this to other, games, other genres, like the sports genre in general.
Hmm.
Like imagine playing, NBA 2K22 with teammates that actually do stuff that makes sense, that make
Right.
make make real motions and real movements and real, plays and so on. So that excites me. And even really just for games in general, like open world games and seeing real behavior for NPCs. Like if you let an AI study, a carpenter at work for a week, and then you put a carpenter NPC in a game,
Hmm.
and they act like a carpenter. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
that's the type of stuff I think could be super cool.
Yeah.
Also, this is very Terminator like, so that also scares me a little bit.
It could be really cool, like on the sports games, if, like 2K, for example, you could have, each player would basically player lock on their own player. So, like,
Hmm.
Dwight Howard would player lock Dwight Howard. He would play center in the game like he would in real life. And the game could learn, this is how you can play. These are the attributes the character has. This is how you play with those
Interesting.
attributes. Like, all of a sudden, your tendencies get better. Like you said, being able to move without the ball all of a sudden is a thing. And you can see real nuance in a thing. Like, if a guy's just a dumb basketball player who doesn't understand defensive rotations, all of a sudden now the AI understands that, he'll play like that in the game. But also, like, when it auto generates a free agent or a draft player in FIFA, they'll have those same type of skills. So it'll be like a true regen of a player type. So yeah, that could
Hmm.
be really, really cool. I'm interested to see if this takes off. Is it too far ahead of its time? Like that, you know what I mean? It could be a thing that maybe people aren't ready for or don't know how to use.
Yeah, I know. I think we're still in the early stages of this, but this is it's promising. Number 3, on Friday, Activision confirmed that 2022's Call of Duty entry would indeed be a sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare, and it will also launch alongside a new version of Warzone, rebuilt from the ground up, that will be a quote massive evolution of Battle Royale with an all new play space and new sandbox mode, end quote. Both new games and all future Call of Duty titles will be using a new engine going forward. The new sandbox mode in question is the Escape from Tarkov style quote unquote DMZ mode, according to insider Tom Henderson, who also says that we can expect a full reveal of the games sometime in May. So we got some official confirmation of what we all knew at this point. What do you make of this?
Well, on the first front, as we said before, this thing will sell like hotcakes, especially
Hmm.
with how bad last year's was, and we've seen the response from the studio, like, "Hey, we fucked it up." Like, so I think there's some momentum there that makes you feel like this one's going to be a lot better, and there was
Right.
already momentum that it was going to be great. So there's a little bit of, I guess, goodwill there, and I think that if they fuck this one up, though, there will be some hard conversations they're gonna have to have. But that being said, the DMZ thing, the Escape from Tarkov type mode,
Hmm.
I figured we would get a Call of Duty or a Battlefield that would kind of try to tap into this Escape from Tarkov mode or Enlisted or Hell Let Loose type of gameplay. I expected we'd get that at some point. So I'm not fully surprised that we're going to see their take on it. I am interested to see what this looks like. I'm ready for May just to see what both of these elements look like because I want to see if it's what I have in my head. Playing a more realistic military type shooter with Call of Duty physics and gunplay might
Hmm.
be a little bit odd, or strategy, I should say, a strategy military shooter. So, but Sandbox opens the door for like some wild ass stuff, and Portal wasn't very successful on Battlefield. Obviously, the game sucks, so maybe that's part of it, but I'm not sure a sandbox mode like this is a thing that's going to be super popular on any game, really.
I did see where earlier today Tom said that the sandbox mode, the DMZ mode, whatever they're calling it, is actually going to be tied to Modern Warfare 2 itself. It's going to be a game mode within Modern Warfare 2 and not like a Warzone playlist. Does that make sense? So
Ah,
it's going to be like an actual mode. I guess like it's not going to be full blown like battle royale is what I'm trying to say.
right.
And we're going to say we're going to use the term or the colloquialism escape from Tarkov style mode again later on. This is becoming almost like the people call the Soulsborne, genre, like the
Hmm.
Dark Souls style games. It's like becoming its own like subgenre, this Tarkov style stuff. But it sounds like it's going to be like like every time that we talk about one of these types of modes or games, it always come back to it's like the dark zone in the Division. Like that's exactly what it is, what it sounds like to
Yeah.
me. So, which is cool. I'm interested to see what that looks like in Modern Warfare. And like you said, I think this game is going to be huge. Like I think the hype for this is going to be through the roof. Modern Warfare was incredible in 2019, and it's Infinity Ward making it again. So it's going to be through the roof, I think. And I can't imagine that it doesn't, sell well, that it doesn't hit the mark. But like you said, if it does stumble, I think that it's only going to add more fuel to the fire of EA, not EA, Activision, now Microsoft, considering maybe de-annualizing Call of Duty, as odd as that sounds. And obviously that's not going to happen in the near term future because they already have 2023, planned, but maybe down the road, certainly could be a possibility. But I just don't see that happening. I think this is going to be a really big game. And the Warzone 2 doesn't turn me off from what I've heard of it. I'm interested in it. I'll give it a try like I did the last one. And then as we know, Tom has reported in previous weeks that Warzone 2 is going to be a next gen or current gen only, however you want to look at it, only for those systems, not for like PS4 and the older ones. So that is interesting to me as well. Number 4, in related news, Travis, the never ending saga of Microsoft acquiring Activision, the platform holder keeps serving up helping after helping of word salad in regards to whether or not Activision Blizzard games will continue releasing on PlayStation platforms or not. The latest serving comes by way of a Microsoft blog post, which reads in part, quote, "To be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision," end quote. What about after those agreements, you might ask? The blog goes on to state, quote, "We have committed to Sony that we will also make Activision Blizzard games available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for gamers, and for our business," end quote. So I'm curious to see how you take these two quotes. What do you make of the situation?
Well, first of all, you wrote world salad.
Oh, I did?
Yes, which is
Well,
hilarious. What
I
is a
did.
world salad?
It's a helping of world salad, you guys.
I love it. No,
Yeah, it's a word salad, it should say.
yeah. Well, the first quote literally reads like, "Yeah, you're gonna get them until your contract's up, and then fuck off." That's how the first one reads.
Hmm.
The second one says, "We have committed to Sony." So what I would like to see there is Sony confirm that, because then that kind of puts them in a corner where they are kind of liable. Maybe Sony doesn't really care that much, but
Hmm.
the we believe it's the right thing to do for the industry and for gamers and for our business. That is true. Like business wise, it makes sense to keep them on Sony platforms because you're going to lose that market share. Even if these guys just buy Game Pass and play it on their computer or something like that, you're still losing market because you can charge on PlayStation. You can charge the $60 for the game or $70 for the game, so you're going to get a bigger profit. Theoretically, as we talked about before, we know Microsoft is such a big company that they could just eat loss after loss after loss until they basically put everybody else out of business, and then they have the only gaming system. Like they could theoretically do that in a way
Hmm.
if the parent company wants to keep giving the gaming division money like that. So why would they do that? Just to be spiteful? I don't know. I mean, they could seriously do that, create the monopoly, and then charge whatever the hell they want. So
Yeah.
I would hope that doesn't happen. That's me with my worst case scenario hat on. But it's interesting to me that they have to make these two comments. Like, with the first question, like to be clear, hey, we're keeping all these through the existing agreement. You could then follow that up immediately by saying, hey, but we told them, when the contract's up, we still want them on PlayStation. We'll work with them. We'll make it work. But they didn't. They left it at that. They left it open ended for a reason, and then the the interviewer had to come back and say something else, right? So,
Yeah.
or the blog post felt the person writing the blog felt like they had to make it clear secondarily. So, like to make a delineation between the two comments says something to me, but I'm not sure what. I still won't believe it until I see it. Big deal that you committed. Big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I definitely agree with you on that. But the biggest takeaway to me is that I don't even think that this leaves it all that clear, in my opinion. Like, especially like the first quote. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fairly cut and dry. They're gonna whatever the agreements are, they're gonna honor it. Okay, got that. The second quote, they say that they're going to make the games available
Right.
on PlayStation beyond the existing agreements and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. So maybe it's semantics, but the way I read that is that the games that come out between now and the time the agreements are up, those games will not get taken off of PlayStation. They'll just continue to be there. That's how I read that.
Mm.
Other people think that this means hey, Call of Duty's and whatever else is always going to come to PlayStation. I don't read it that way. I read it
Mhm.
as after the agreement's up, whatever has come out in that term,
Mhm.
it's going to stay on PlayStation. We're not going to take it down. But I don't read that as hey, anything new after the agreement, Call of Duty 26 is going to come to PlayStation. No, I don't read it that way.
Mhm.
I don't
Uh,
read it that way at all.
I
So
read another thing in it when you were reading that out loud was they didn't say how or when. So,
right.
let's say they do mean the future games will come. Well, they didn't say it would be in the same year or that it
Right.
would be on PlayStation Now or that it would be full price or that
That's
you'll have
yeah.
to buy Game Pass, but then somehow link it to your Sony account. Like they're not
Mhm.
telling you how or when either.
Yeah. Now, I guess common sense would tell us, and perhaps good business sense would tell us that, hey, yeah, Call of Duty is going to keep coming to PlayStation. It makes sense. The catch is that you can just get it for free as a part of your subscription on Game Pass on Xbox, but on PlayStation you're going to have to pay $70 for it. That is what I guess business sense would tell you. You know, and that would make perfect sense. Xbox players, you get it for free, whatever. PlayStation, you got to pay us your $70. But I'm skeptical because Microsoft has talked out of both their mouth and their asshole for a while now in regards to these types of situations, and they still don't make it. Even though they say to be clear, in my opinion, it's not totally clear, and it's in direct contrast to how Jim Ryan told games industry whenever they bought Bungie last week or 2 weeks ago. They said, "Listen, new Bungie games, they're going to come to whatever platforms they want them to come to in the future." But they just came out and said it. Like, why can't you fucking say that?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. So it's weird that now the roles are like, hey, I told you. Listen, I said this on the show. I said this. I said we're heading into a weird situation where Sony, even though they're the market leader, is going to be the underdog. They're going to be the good guy, while Microsoft is over here buying up all these people and making these weird decisions and somehow becoming the villain. I just feel like they've got to tread carefully. I don't know. I think they've got to be deliberate is how they do this. Number 5, according to a new studio profile done by French outlet Le Devoir, PlayStation's second-party partner Haven, led by Jade Raymond, has tripled the size of its staff since March of 2021 and is currently at work on its debut game, which is described as a, quote, persistent, scalable online environment, end quote, for PlayStation 5 and PC. The studio is also said to be working with PlayStation 5 system architect Mark Cerny to design their new game. We also learned that the studio pitched 3 large-scale projects to Sony, which walked away so impressed that they offered to fund all 3 games. Haven only accepted funding for one so as to not spread themselves too thin right off the bat with their new studio, but I think this bodes well for the future. What do you think?
Well, I think it's fascinating they pitched 3 huge ones and Sony was like, "Yes." Like, that's amazing.
Right. I know, yeah.
Like, if I'm in their shoes, I'm like, "Please just do 1. Please don't come back with none.
Right.
Just let me do 1." And they're like, "Here's all 3." So then, of course, that shows some maturity by Haven too to say, "Hey, thanks. We're gonna do 1 because, we don't wanna fuck this up. Let us do 1, and then we'll come back to the other 2. You already said you're in. We'll take the money for 1, and we'll prove it," right? So that's kinda awesome.
Mhm.
But tripling the size of the staff since March, that's, like, crazy. I'm interested to see what this is. Persistent, scalable. Again, some more buzzwords that we hear a lot, but it's exciting. Scalable makes me think that it's going to be maybe a world that we're familiar with, but it's literally like one to one on the game, which could be really really cool. I kind of hope GT. I guess GTA 6 won't be in a city that we know of unless it combines all the other ones. But I like the idea that like I'm in, you know, like I wish that the Assassin's Creeds were like that. Like I'm in Paris in 1650 and it's like one to one. Like, that's awesome to me. I
Yeah,
I love
that'd
that
be
type of
cool.
thing. So, hopefully we see something like that, where if it's based on a city or it's in LA or DC or something like that, it's one to one. That would be awesome. Anyway, no, this is cool. I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, I think this is confirmation that this is one of the 10 live service games by 2026.
Right.
Obviously, persistent, scalable online environment. So this is one of those live service projects. That's very cool. Also, like you said, extremely impressive that they pitched 3 project ideas to Sony, and Sony just wanted to go ahead and just give them money for all 3. And along those lines, as we've talked about on the show, these second party studios like Haven, like Deviation, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and there's another one too, but I can't remember what it is. These are the next studio acquisition targets for PlayStation, for Sony, as we've talked about. And as long as things go well, I think that is there's a very good chance that that could happen. There's a very good chance Haven gets bought by PlayStation, Deviation, so on. The fact that they were willing to fund all 3 projects up front, I think says as much about what Sony thinks of Haven. So just something to keep our eye on. Of course, we won't see the fruits of their labor for many years now, so we'll have to wait and see. But very excited about this game of what it could be. Number 6, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported this week that Ubisoft has turned a piece of Assassin's Creed Valhalla DLC into a standalone spin-off game. The project is codenamed Rift and would star Valhalla character Basim in a smaller, stealth-focused title that is scheduled to release by 2023. Assassin's Creed Rift will bridge the gap between Valhalla and the Assassin's Creed live service title called Infinity, which is currently in development at Ubisoft Quebec, the studio behind Odyssey, and Ubisoft Montreal, the studio behind Origins and Valhalla. What do you think about Ubisoft making a, wait for it, stealth-focused Assassin's Creed game? Can you believe that shit?
Yeah, stealth focus would be an amazing thing for a game with assassin in the title. That's pretty wild.
Holy shit.
My first thought when I saw this was like, you don't have to bridge every gap. It's okay to have a gap. We can have a year without an Assassin's Creed game. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Make us want it.
Like,
Make us
yeah,
want
like
it.
it's okay. It's not a big deal. But, you know, that being said, if it hits, it hits.
Mhm.
Having an actual stealthy game would be awesome for them to do. I think people would like that, especially if it's, I know it says smaller, but like smaller to them could be 30 hours. Like,
Yeah.
so we'll see what
True.
smaller really is. But anyway, yeah. So we'll see. I think it's unnecessary, but I get why they're doing it. Valhalla sold well. Why would you not do a bridge game? I get it. They want to stay in the ether. You don't want to fall back. So I understand all of the reasons they're doing it. But I still think that the live service is going to be very difficult to pull off, and the idea that it's at 2 different studios, I just don't like that type of thing.
Mhm.
It's different when studios help, right? Like whatever.
Mhm.
That's not what I mean. That happens on every game. That's fine. What I mean is like Ubisoft Quebec made a certain type of Assassin's Creed game with Odyssey, and then Montreal made a certain type of game with Origins and Valhalla, and those games are different. It's a different culture in those companies. It's a different way of believing the Assassin's Creed world should operate. Even though
Mhm.
it's the same world, there's going to be nuances that are completely different. So then you're trying to get those
Mhm.
2 people to agree on a live service. I'm just not sure that's a compatible good idea.
That's fair. I I guess a couple things. First of all, giving me a 15 to 20 hour Assassin's Creed game focused on stealth, I, I'm there. Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
would play that.
everybody yeah, that's what a lot of people want from Assassin's Creed. You give me a 15 to 20 hour focused, tight experience. Stealth is the main thing about the game. Awesome. Fantastic. So this could be for me. The weird thing about this is that if this is going to come out this year, it sounds like I mean, by 2023, we're already in mid February. So the crazy thing about this is that if this comes out and this is like a hit, like this is like a like a 90 or like high 80s or whatever, low 90s on Metacritic, and
Mhm.
everybody's like, this is a return to form for the Assassin's Creed franchise, so on and so forth. Then what? Because then they're going to follow that up with Assassin's Creed Infinity, the live service, multi-year title. Like you said, have 2 main Ubisoft studios working on it. It's the complete opposite of what this game is. So where do they go from there if that's the case is my question. I don't know. I think this could be really good, but if it is really good, it could be difficult for them going forward trying to sell the other end of this, which is the live service thing later on. So I'm excited about this. This is very appealing to me. This is I'm this Assassin's Creed fan. Like this is who this
Right.
appeals to is me. So
For those of us who played the first couple, like this is right in our alley. Like that's why we liked it.
right, right. Number 7, website xfire.com and insider Tom Henderson reported this week on Ubisoft's upcoming free-to-play spin-off, The Division Heartland. Henderson claims that Ubisoft has been conducting extensive quality assurance testing, which some sources believe means a release is imminent. The game will include 2 modes, Storm, which is a PvP/VE mode, and Excursion, a PvE mode aimed at preparing players for the primary Storm mode. This main mode is a formula similar to Escape from Tarkov, there it is, where players survive, loot, and extract back to their base of operations. One interesting note that Henderson made is that the base includes a small arcade with previous Ubisoft titles like For Honor, Just Dance, and Driver, although it is unclear what exactly that means at this point. And finally, Henderson's sources say the game is progressing well and is in a better state than fellow Ubisoft free-to-play title Tom Clancy's Frontline. Very interested in this. What do you think?
I forgot about Frontline completely.
Yeah.
We always joke about how funny it is that these news outlets come from random people or places, and it's nice to see a porn site like Xfire got in on this. Completely incredible. So
Tom just whores himself out to whoever.
he doesn't care. Just pay me.
Yeah.
So first, I want to say like extensive QA tests means that the game is close. Like guys,
Mm,
not necessarily. Look at Battlefield.
mm,
So do they even QA test that bitch? I will say that both of these modes sound actually really cool. Storm mode and excursion. Like I
hmm.
said, it reminds me a lot of the Dark Zone. The excursion
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of Rainbow Six. So you're
Hmm.
in there playing the enemies. And you're trying to get out. Right. That's basically what we're doing with those alien creatures. So all that's pretty cool. It sounds awesome. It sounds fun. I'm excited to play driver inside of the game and only play driver inside of the game.
Yeah. I want to know what that means.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly? So, no, I'm excited. Like, it's funny. A few weeks ago, I think I told you like we haven't heard about the Heartland in forever, right? And then now, like the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks, we've heard some noise. So that's exciting. I think this will be really cool. Actually, I'm interested to see how polished it is. Like I always am with free to play, but I do have a lot of I have a lot of hope for this.
Yeah, I do too. Obviously I love the Division. I think we both do. I platinumed both of the first 2 games. Love those games. It's made for me. Heartland sounds like it could be made for me. I'm okay with the free to play model. I'm sure it's going to have season passes and all that type of stuff. That's fine. I get that. That's part of the free to play thing. Everything that we've heard about this so far, and everything that Tom reported on here, still has me interested. Nothing has turned me off so far. I'm like you. I'm very intrigued by what the hell driver being in the arcade is. That just like an Easter egg, or is that
Mm.
like what does that mean? I don't
Well,
know. And also, it has to be because like what does that have to do with the Division?
right. Well, I love that you can go into an arcade and do just dance with your character. Like you just dance. Like
That's
it
I
just
mean
doesn't make
maybe
any sense.
right maybe. Also, this definitely seems like a game that's coming this year. I think at one point we thought it was coming last year. I think they delayed
Mhm.
it, like they didn't announce that it was delayed. I don't think, but I think it quietly got delayed. I don't remember, but I do feel like that at one point there was a thought that might be out last year. Also, in Tom's article that he wrote for this website, this porn site, he included a graphic that where Ubisoft released the timeline for the Division. I don't know if you saw that in that article that I sent you, but it was the Division, the Division 2, the Division Warlords of New York, which is the DLC for the Division 2, and then the next thing in the timeline was the Division Heartland, and then after Heartland is additional Division 2 content, which I was
Interesting.
reading. Which I was reading the other day is supposed to come out later this year. They're going to release new DLC for it. So if that's the case, this sounds like a game that's coming in the first part of this year. Probably, in my opinion, like sometime between May and July. This seems like a summer game to me. Maybe even something where Ubisoft does their thing in June and they're like, hey, Tom Clancy's Heartlands is available right now. You know what I mean? Because it's free to play. So this seems like a summer game to me, but I don't think we're too far off. So that's exciting. Number 8, industry sales analytics firm, the MPD Group, released their January data this week. PlayStation 5 was the month's best-selling hardware in both units sold and total dollar sales, beating the mighty Nintendo Switch. On the software front, thanks to its launch on PC, God of War shot up from the 146th best-selling game a month ago to number 5 in January. Spider-Man Miles Morales was the 6th best-selling game in January and now trails only God of War and the original Spider-Man on PS4 in lifetime dollar sales for Sony-published titles since 1995. Crazy. The top best-selling games on PlayStation platforms for the month were number 1, Call of Duty Vanguard, followed by Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was 6th overall, as I mentioned, Madden NFL 22 at 3, FIFA 22, Rainbow Six Extraction at 5, which was 9th overall, Ghost of Tsushima at 6, Spider-Man, Battlefield 2042, NBA 2K22, and Far Cry 6 at number 10. So, any takeaways there?
But the God of War thing is crazy. But you know, I hope that people in the industry are looking at what Spider-Man Miles Morales has done. Like, how many hours did you put into that game?
Probably 15.
Right. And look where it is all time.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
can make a game that is solid. I mean, solid isn't even the right word. You can make a fucking world beater, okay? That's
Yeah.
less than 30 hours and it will sell like if it's good, it will sell, right? So I think that people are missing. I hope they're understanding that, right? Because this live service trend
Yeah.
in these games that are 500 hours long, Dying Light 2, like I don't like that trend. And that, that probably works if we're in a pandemic for the rest of our lives. It can't go anywhere. You could probably, yeah, 500
Yeah.
hours, whatever. What the fuck am I going to do? But like
Yeah.
for the real world, that's not always the case. So I think that having a balance of those two type of things will be good. And I think we've skewed really far in the other direction. And hopefully now we'll start coming back more towards the middle. So that's my hope. I will say that. As far as the top 10 goes, awesome to see Rainbow Six up there, and this is on sales. So I would be willing to bet Rainbow Six is even higher on downloads because of the free trial and the buddy pass. I would bet it's top 3 on downloads.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I don't understand why Ghost of Tsushima is still there. And one of the things I love is like, Miles Morales is at number 2, and then clearly people loved it so much they went back and got Spider-Man. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an interesting thing to me. And then look at Far Cry in 10th. Look at that.
Yeah.
So for a game that
Hanging
got a
on.
70, it's the thing about we've talked about this before. Like the first Dying Light gets a 70. I don't even know, this Far Cry is a 70 something, but they're just fun to play. So I think that I don't really know how to explain that. I guess the whole point of Metacritic is you have the critic, and then you also have the fan rating. So the fan rating should be
Right.
able to tell you if it's fun to play or not, but it doesn't always align like that. It seems like when the fans rate games, they want to pretend they're critics, so it kind of doesn't really work. Similarly with Rotten Tomatoes and movies, but I wish there was a way that you could have like a fun index on games, right? Like Battlefield gets a 70 and like it's not fun. So like its fun index would be 1 out of 10. Like
Right.
I just wish there was something there that we could see that because that would be a whole different kind of top 10 that would be really interesting to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I'm blown away by just Miles Morales in general. And now only trailing God of War, Spider-Man, and lifetime dollar sales is insane. Like we talked about, it's just a beast, and it's just going to keep going. We've talked about on the show how it's going to stay in the top 10 through the rest of this year because more and more people are going to be getting PS5s. It's just a beast. And then first, Call of Duty Vanguard being first overall just shows you how important that the Call of Duty franchise is to PlayStation. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see how things shake out there in the future once we have more clarity. And then Rainbow Six at 5, Extraction at 5. I think that's pretty strong start for it. It's behind 4 heavyweights really, so that's really a good start for it. 9th on the overall list. That game is better than expected, so I think that's well deserved. And then I think that's a pretty good observation about Spider-Man, the original, being sneaking back in there too. I'm sure that had something to do with Miles Morales, as you said. Number 9. Sony also released the most downloaded games on the PlayStation Store for the month of January this
Cool.
week.
See how wrong I was.
On PS5, number 1 was Spider-Man Miles Morales, followed by Among Us, NBA 2K22, Madden NFL 22, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Rainbow Six Extraction, Call of Duty Vanguard, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, FIFA 22, Mortal Kombat 11, Demon Souls, It Takes Two, Rainbow Six Siege, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, Hitman 3, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Returnal at 20. And then on PS4, the most downloaded game was Grand Theft Auto 5, Spider-Man Game of the Year Edition, Minecraft, Among Us, Gang Beasts, The Witcher 3, NBA 2K22, Madden NFL 22, Call of Duty Vanguard, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Forest, Injustice 2, FIFA 22, Five Nights at Freddy's, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition, Dying Light, For Honor, and Star Wars Battlefront 2 at number 20. On PSVR, the most downloaded game was Beat Saber, followed by Job Simulator, Creed Rise to Glory, Superhot VR, Swordsman, Rick and Morty Virtual Reality, Zenith, The Last City, Gorn, Astrobot Rescue Mission, and Drunken Bar Fight at number 10. In the free-to-play category, the most downloaded game was Fortnite, followed by PUBG, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Warzone, Rec Room, Rocket League, Apex Legends, Genshin Impact, Destiny 2, and Brawlhalla at number 10. You got any takeaways here from the list?
On the VR, Drunken Bar Fight just looks like it'd be fun to mess around on. I'm not sure that it has any legs, but it just looks like a fun game to fuck around with.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got up here. I was going to tell you that the PS4 looks like, this is what the PS4 looks like to me when you read off those 20 games. It looks like a dad gave it to their kid and they bought themselves a 5. Because it's just like Gang Beasts and Among Us and Minecraft. Those are games kids are playing. Like Call of Duty, the sports games. I don't know. Those go both ways, so those don't really count. But like those top ones up there,
Yeah.
and then Star Wars, like that's just where that lands for me. As far as the 5 goes, Hitman 3 jumps back up with their new Season 2 kit that they put out, which is pretty cool. I thought Uncharted would be a little bit higher, but maybe we didn't have enough time in January to really see what those numbers look like.
That's true.
And so like I said, I thought Rainbow Six would be higher on the downloads, but it's actually one spot lower than it was on the purchase. That being said, we'll look at what it's actually behind that people would have paid money for. So they'd have paid for Madden and Spider-Man. 2K probably saw a resurgence in downloads because of the trade deadline. So players are moving teams, you get a roster update. People might have got back into it for that. And then, like, Among Us, Five Nights at Freddy's, it's just kids downloading stuff. I don't really count those. And then Extraction is ahead of COD, which sold the most, and it's ahead of FIFA, which is behind itself. So, yeah, I still think I'm mildly right there, and I will take my W. I give myself a B on my prediction.
That's fair. That's fair. So for me, I want to point out again just how much of a beast Miles Morales is. It was the most downloaded game on PlayStation 5 in January. It's just insane. I just can't get over it. And let's see, Among Us. It's another huge game. It would be right there if it was a free to play game. It would be just as high probably on that as well. But I think it's like $5. Among Us is so. Extraction at 6 on the top downloaded list. Still very impressive, I think. And then, like you noted, it is above Vanguard, which is interesting. Above FIFA 22 and some other heavy hitters there. Interesting. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves charts at 16 on the PS5 after I think it came out January 28th, so it was only there for 3 days on the market. So that is pretty impressive. And then PS4, there's really no surprises there. It's all the usual suspects, including The Forest, which is just there all the time. That amazes me as well. PSVR list is pretty much the same with the exception of Zenith, that MMO game that just came out like the last week of January, I think, maybe the third week. So it did pretty well at 7 there for it to be only have maybe a week or two on the market. And then free to play, nothing really to note there other than Yu-Gi-Oh, which I believe came out in January, makes its debut at 3rd. And at number 10, Travis, we have a lot of news nuggets here, so feel free to join me wherever you see fit. First nugget, a little bit of a lengthy one. The beloved head of PlayStation Indies, Mr. Shuhei Yoshida, shared 7 indie game announcements and updates over on the PlayStation blog on Thursday. We got a new look at Moss Book 2, which will release this spring on PlayStation VR. There was also a reveal of next-gen pixel art atmospheric puzzle platformer Animal Well, which comes to PS5 later this year or in early 2023, depending on how things go. That game's developed by one man. We also got a look at new gameplay for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which will feature Splinter as a playable character. And
Why
it
would you not
looks
play a Shredder?
they're fighting Shredder, Mr. Shredder. That game looks pretty dope, by the way. Also, developer Super Rare Originals revealed their first PlayStation game, a challenging arcade-style first-person shooter called Post Void, which will come to PS4 and PS5 this spring. We also got a new look at Salt and Sacrifice and its upgraded PvP gameplay. We also learned that the game will release on May 10th on PS4 and PS5. Instant death platform fighting game Samurai Gun 2 was revealed for PS5. Stealth action sequel Hello Neighbor 2 was announced for PS4 and PS5, with a beta coming on April 7th, which you can get access to by pre-ordering the game. So I looked all of these up, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is really the only one that interests me. I know the Moss game will be huge. The Animal Well game is odd, but I don't know. I'm like morbidly curious about that. It's pixel art, but they're using next gen lighting and something else, so it's got like some modern touches, which is weird and interesting at the same time. I don't know. It's different. Next nugget, in a mini flurry of Horizon related news this week, Guerrilla Games announced that Zero Dawn has now sold 20 million copies worldwide, joining the likes of The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, God of War, and Spider-Man as 20 million sellers for PlayStation. Guerrilla also revealed a wide range of accessibility settings for Horizon Forbidden West this week, from gameplay assist settings to custom controller layouts. And finally, Guerrilla also showed the game running on the base PS4 as well this week, ahead of its launch on the 18th.
So when did you say it came out?
February 18th.
Wow, it's right on the horizon.
Oh, next nugget. PSVR co-op shooter After the Fall will get new maps, new guns, and new enemies in the game's new season called Frontrunner.
So the problem with After the Fall is I don't know one person with a PSVR, so I can't imagine having two people to do a co-op shooter with.
Right. Well, maybe we'll fix that later in the year when PSVR 2 comes out. Well, perhaps later in the year. We'll get to that in just a second. Also, publisher Take-Two Interactive's recent financial reporting reveals that they expect a 14% increase in net bookings by 2024 and a doubling of their marketing spend as well. This lines up with when analysts predict Grand Theft Auto 6 will launch sometime between April of 2023 and April of 2024.
I would be willing to bet the analysts saw this, and that's why they predicted that time frame.
Right. I don't see this coming in 2023. I really don't, but
Seems way too soon.
that seems too soon. But
Like 25, I'd be like, okay, I'll buy that. Like if you just told me 24, I'd be like,
yeah. And to me, it feels like a 2024 game, but man, I don't know. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they figured it out. Also, GamesIndustry.biz reported that the gaming rights for The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit IP will soon be up for auction, according to Variety. Sony Interactive Europe is relocating its Liverpool headquarters to a new 65,000 square foot facility after 27 years at their current location. Big money, big spenders.
Is it still in Liverpool?
It's still in Liverpool, just in a new building.
I don't think Liverpool is that big. Or I think in Manchester. Isn't one of them really tiny?
It's. I don't think it's Liverpool because I mean, they got two soccer teams, and I think Liverpool's pretty big. I don't think it's that one.
Who's the other soccer team in Liverpool?
There's Everton and then the Liverpool.
Oh, they're in Liverpool? I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. Also, visual effects artist Mohsin Musavi and Hugh Beruzzi, those sound made up, alongside longtime game designer Troy Dunaway, announced the founding of a new game studio called Blink Moon. Beruzzi has worked on films like Guardians of the Galaxy, Justice League, and Tomb Raider, while Musavi worked on Game of Thrones, Spider-Man, and Independence Day 2. Dunaway has worked in the games industry for 25 years on titles like Rainbow Six, Ratchet and Clank, and Dying Reborn.
Yeah, none of that sounds. All that sounds like fake truth. None of that sounds real.
It sounds totally made up, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Musavi used to travel around and kill people for the Israelis.
Yeah, he was in the Mossad. Musavi was in the Mossad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Next nugget. Publisher Bandai Namco plans to invest $130 million to build its own metaverse, the company revealed this week.
Kill me.
Yes. God, fuck off. You could make a AAA game for that. Why? Just, Okay. Bandai Namco also announced, Travis, that Dark Souls online servers will remain offline until Elden Ring's release, after which the team can shift focus to fixing the issues currently
Wow.
plaguing the game.
I wonder if it costs 130 million to fix those issues. I mean, just fix the fucking game that people play. I don't get it.
Right, right. Similar to Bandai Namco, PUBG developer KraftOn announced plans to build their NFT Metaverse platform as well. God bless. Fuck. French publisher Nacon, please don't be an NFT or Metaverse. No, it's not. They've acquired developer Midgar Studio, the team behind the newly released JRPG Edge of Eternity.
Mm.
Website Video Games Chronicle reported that Sony is still in the process of negotiating with eye tracking firms for PSVR 2 components. Travis says Tobii AB, who claims that they are the global leader in eye tracking technology, announced that they are currently in negotiations with Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PSVR 2 contract. So that doesn't bode well for my theory that it's releasing this year.
Hmm. But, I mean, if you're Toby AB, why not say this? Because who the fuck knows who they are?
It's also unclear to me. I'll have to look. I would have had to have looked into this more than I did. I did a cursory research on this, but it's unclear whether this is hardware related or if this is software related. Because if Sony's wanting to contract with them for software, a software related issue for the headset, that is, in my opinion, of course, I know nothing about this, but to me, that seems like a much quicker thing to implement. Like
Hmm.
if they're just going to buy software for these guys to put on the headset's motherboard or whatever the hell in the
Right.
operating system, like that seems like you can do that now. And then
Just
just put
download
it
it.
in the head. Yeah, just put it in the headset. So
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a physical thing.
yeah,
It just to me,
sounds that
because
way.
I feel like Sony would write their own software. I just feel like that's a thing they
That's
do.
true. That's true. That's true. We'll see. Also, Capcom will allegedly reveal their Resident Evil 4 remake soon. Uncharted film director Ruben Fleischer is working with Sony to adapt Jak and Daxter for film or television, and oddly enough, Uncharted and Spider-Man star Tom Holland said in a recent interview, quote, "I would like to make a Jak and Daxter movie and I would like to play Jak," end quote. So
Tom, calm down.
there you go. Jak and
Jack her off.
Daxter.
Jack her off and Daxter. I hardly know her.
Oh, Days Gone game director Jeff Ross revealed on Sacred Symbols that Bend Studio was the team that pitched an Uncharted spinoff to Sony focused on a young Sully as the protagonist. Still think
Jeff,
that would have been a pretty good game.
Nobody fucking cares. Like, it's always these guys at Days Gone. Well, we
Yeah.
were doing something with Uncharted. Dude, chill the fuck out. Like, we got it. You made a game. It was average. Just like stick chill. Nobody cares. Stop trying to act like you're better than you are. I don't know. It's like James Harden trying to tell everybody he's good at basketball. Like, sure, but you suck ass in the playoffs. Like,
So you're over it.
yeah, it's just like, who cares? Shut the fuck up. Like, you're the kid in the back of the class that's like, I knew that, but I knew that, but I didn't want to raise my hand. That's what I feel like they are all the time.
Next nugget. Sony released new PS4 and PS5 software beta updates this week. The PS5 update included voice command features for the console, which actually seems to work pretty well. And I watched a video of this in action, and it does seem to work pretty well. So it's pretty neat. A new Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut update has added Horizon Forbidden West themed armor. A Battlefield 2042 refund petition has gained over 130,000 signatures at the time of this writing.
I think they had less signatures to impeach President Trump, so that's pretty impressive.
Take-Two Interactive revealed that Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition, has sold more than 10 million copies. Unbelievable. Likewise, Red Dead Redemption 2 has sold 43 million copies, making it the 8th best-selling video game of all time. Grand Theft Auto 5 has now sold more than 160 million copies.
That's crazy.
Insane.
All of that is crazy.
All of that is crazy. And they sold 43 million copies of Red Dead Redemption and don't give a fuck about the online. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Money on the table. Also, NBA 2K and WWE developer Visual Concepts is working on a new AAA open world racing game with a quote unquote major license, according to new job listings at the studio. And there is theory that they may have gotten permission from Rockstar to make a Midnight Club game, although I can't imagine them doing that. But
I can't either. If it was not open world, I would have said it's going to be NASCAR 2K22 or something like that.
oh,
But it's open world, so I wouldn't guess that. I think 2K would make a pretty good NASCAR game.
right, yeah, I
To be
wouldn't, I
honest.
wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Also, I'm very this. I've talked about before how I want an open world racing game. So this could be for me.
Well, you know how
And
much they love the park and all this other bullshit. I mean, it kind of
mm,
makes sense. They kind of have a little bit of a blueprint
yeah,
there.
that is true. It's a good point. Also, website Push Square reported that Gran Turismo Sport player data will transfer over to GT7, including ratings, liveries, and decals. Travis, the process starts on Tuesday of this week and should upload whenever you boot up Sport the next time.
I hate this.
Okay,
I
why?
just because I want to start over. Like that's part
Oh,
of the fun is grinding your thing out is part of the fun. And I know what they mean because there are people that be bitching like, God, I put whatever 200 hours in this game and to have an A plus or an S rating, and then now I have to start at D. Well, like it's a new game. Fuck off. Like
mm, hmm,
that's part of the fun. Plus, it's a whole different game. There's gonna be new stuff we have to deal with,
yeah.
weather, different tire wear, different aero. So like, yeah, you are an A rating, but you're an A rating on GT Sport. This is a different game.
Maybe maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can start over.
Oh, I'll start all over if it'll let me because that's the fun. Like for me, once I get to like, if I sat down and raced every day and it got to like the top tier to like level S, I don't think I would be as interested anymore.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
like, oh, okay, whatever. Like I just, like it just wouldn't be fun anymore. Like I enjoy like trying to get better. That's the fun of the game for me.
right. I get that. Also, the next gen versions of Grand Theft Auto Online will get an exclusive in game retailer, House Special Works Auto Shop, which will allow players to purchase and upgrade 10 cars with elite driving performance that will take advantage of the new hardware. Nathan Drake and Chloe Frazier will come to Fortnite as playable characters on February 17th. We knew that was coming. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that upcoming horror game Martha is Dead will be censored by Sony on PS4 and PS5, which is delayed physical versions of the game. The game depicts some extensively graphic scenes where the player cuts the face off of a corpse and wears it, for example, Travis. And
Uh-huh. Why is that hysterical to me?
because it makes you think of the Office clip where Dwight cuts the face off the CPR
God.
dummy. Also, listen. Two things real quick because we're getting close on time. But first of all, I am not for censorship. Okay,
Mm-mm.
like if these fucked up sicko bastards want to make this game, put this in their game, then so be it. I'm not going to play it anyway. They should be able to do that. Okay, like also we're adults. If the game's going to be rated M, you know,
Yeah, we got it.
if we want to play it, fine. If we don't, fine too. If you're worried about kids seeing it, then adults need to pay attention to what the hell they're doing.
Mhm.
So it doesn't need to be censored. Also, these guys are sick. But anyway,
Yeah, how do they motion cap that scene or what?
I don't know, dude. You can see the clip on Twitter. I've seen the clip on Twitter many times today.
Oh, well then what's the point? It's already
Yeah,
out.
I've seen it many times today on Twitter, and it is just as insane as what you can picture in your head.
Did it look
But
real like when you do it in your basement?
it looked even better. Next nugget. Developer Slow Clap plans to release post-launch DLC and free content for the newly released Sifu. The studio also announced this week that the game has already sold over 500,000 copies.
Nice.
Nice. Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick said on their recent financial reporting calls that they would be releasing sequels to many quote-unquote beloved franchises, and he specifically referenced LA Noire and Midnight Club.
Mhm.
Mr. Zelnick is also keen to add NFTs to their upcoming games, Travis. So fuck me.
Of course they are, because you can buy them, and then Midnight Club, Take-Two ties right in to that other bullet point.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't have it
Bingo.
all. U.S. Army developed a multiplayer game, America's Army, will be shutting down its servers after 20 years.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was up about as long as we were in Afghanistan.
That's a great point, actually. Like, oh, well, hell, it's over with. Shut it
We already
down.
we already pulled out of that.
Shut it down, Sergeant Major. Twitter user and leaker Oops Leaks claims that PlayStation's second party partner Deviation Games' upcoming PS5 exclusive will have a narrative heavy single player campaign alongside a multiplayer component. Deviation is the studio founded by former Call of Duty lead Jason Blundell, if you'll remember. So this sounds like another live service
Mhm.
of those 10. That sounds pretty awesome to me. Sony Santa Monica studio is currently hiring for an unannounced new large-scale project, one of which is for an art director, which indicates this is for an entirely new project and not God of War, for instance. They wouldn't be hiring an art director this late in the game. They'd be fucked. Also, developer Red Games announced that their Super Smash Bros. Style game Lego Brawls will make its way to PS4 and PS5 sometime this summer.
That could be cool. That could be really cool.
I thought the same thing. I'm not opposed totally. Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: Call of Duty Vanguard, Dead by Daylight, or Dying by the Light, perhaps Travis, Path of Exile, Back for Blood, Minecraft, Hunt Showdown, Rogue Company, Riders Republic, and Minecraft Dungeons. The ESRB has rated upcoming PS5 exclusive Forspoken as mature, and also confirms that it will include in-game purchases. Okay.
That's why it's mature.
Right. Well, no, we're not that far yet, are we? I was going to say maybe that's true, but there's other games like Marvel's Avengers is T and it has purchases, so sports games and shit. Tom Henderson reported that Codemasters Cheshire Cat will be assisting development on a new Need for Speed game.
Cats are really good at driving, so it'll be great.
I don't know why it made me laugh so hard. MLB The Show 22 will take up 78 beers. What am I saying? It'll take up 72. I wrote BG. It'll take up 72 BGs, guys. It'll take up 72. Okay. MLB The Show 22 will take up 72 gigabytes on your PS5 when it launches.
Bytes giga.
What a sequence. Returnal developer Housemarque is staffing up for a new PS5 game, according to a new job listing for a lead level designer. Free-to-play vehicular combat game Crossout received a native PS5 version of the game this week, featuring 4K at 60 frames per second and DualSense support. Sony Interactive Entertainment is investing 750 million yen, so like $5, into XR cloud platform holder Mono AI Technology, who they see as providing value for the metaverse and virtual reality.
You just said fuck you, Japan. Or China. Who does he in?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
$5.
I could have
even get a Happy Meal.
I could have converted it, but why didn't the article? God.
Can you imagine if that was $5 and you went to get a Happy Meal? They're like 750 million yen, and you pull out ones.
It really is something stupid like that. The conversion rate to yen, it's awful. It's probably like $75. All right. Critically acclaimed platformer Never Alone is getting a sequel sometime in 2024. Sci-fi puzzler thriller Forest Grove will come to PS4 and PS5 in the third quarter of this year. Website Gematsu reported that NIS America announced Disgaea 6 complete for PS4 and PS5, and it will launch sometime this summer. Side-scrolling action RPG Mandragora was announced for PS5, but no release date was given. Very cool art style. It looked like not watercolor, but like hand-painted. It was very neat. Bandai Namco announced Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series will come to PS4 and PS5 sometime later this year. Bandai also announced that action RPG SD Gundam Battle Alliance for PS4 and PS5, and it will launch worldwide sometime later this year. Square Enix announced a live-action mystery adventure game, The Centennial Case, a Shijima story. It will launch worldwide on May 12th for PS4 and PS5. Square also announced Chrono Cross: The Radical Dreamers Edition, a remastered version of the original, and it will release on April 7th for PS4, and that is another one of those NVIDIA GeForce Now leaks confirmed, which means that we're getting Helldivers 2, by the way. Free-to-play racing game Disney Speedstorm will launch on consoles sometime this summer. Retro future Soviet Union set first-person shooter Atomic Heart will launch on PS4 and PS5 sometime between September and December.
Or sooner if Russia invades Ukraine.
Possibly. The Wolf Among Us 2, a Telltale series, will launch in 2023 on PS4 and PS5. Action-adventure game Zorro: The Chronicles will release on PS4 and PS5 in June. 4-player action-adventure game Conan Chop Chop will release on PS4 on March 1st. Survival horror game Tormented Souls will launch on PS4 on February 25th. Alchemy-themed action-adventure game The Serpent Rogue, it's a cool name, will release on PS5 on April 26th. Adventure game The Cruel King and the Great Hero has been delayed from March 1st to March 15th in North America and to March 11th in Europe. Action brawler River City Girls 0 is now available on PS4 and PS5.
It kind of sucks because they wear pasties. It's not really getting what you pay for.
Yeah, don't even bother, guys. Japanese strategy RPG Grand Kingdom will be delisted from the Japanese PlayStation Store on February 28th. So I put this in here as a word of warning to you guys out there. If you own a Vita or a PS4 or whatever, you've been wanting this game because you can play this on Vita, you better go ahead and do it because this is ominous in my opinion that it may happen here too. Survival horror game Scoutfold, Shrouded in Sanity is now available on PS4. Action RPG Babylon's Fall from Platinum Games will receive a demo on PS4 and PS5 on February 25th. Paranormal fantasy Yuri visual novel Heart of the Woods is now available on PS4 and PS5. Cooperative horror first-person shooter Rip Out will launch on PS5 sometime this year. And finally, Travis Gamatsu reported that adventure game Road 96, they were so close, will release on PS4 and PS5 on April 14th. And that is all for the news this week. And I'll kick it over to Travis now for this week's new games.
On the 8th, we have Ollie Ollie World, which some people are having problems with, according to Twitter.
Oh.
We also have Sifu. On the 10th, we have Breakout Recharged, Edge of Eternity, El Gancho, Kung Fu Kickball,
El Gancho,
Nape Retroverse Collection, Power Slave Exhumed, which feels like a bad but just a bad title. Rise of the Sword Power, Sword of Ellipisa.
Elpisa.
Elpisa, okay.
Sure.
Sword of Elpisa, whatever. Unbound Worlds Apart and Zombie Hill Racing. Sifu's obviously the biggest one here, and it's apparently super fucking hard, but it's very cool online to watch, which it's funny, like when you see certain games, you're like, that looks really cool, and then you see how hard it is, and like I'll end up just seeing people play this online, and I'll enjoy it voyeuristically, I guess you could say.
Yeah, very vicariously, I might add. That Breakout Recharge game, I got really excited when I saw that because there's that what is that? That action figure third person co-op shooter game that I've sent you and John before, where you're like, the action figure toys and you're like shooting other toys, whatever. That game is called Unboxed Recharged. So that is not this game. I was very excited that it could possibly be that, but it's not. And I'm going to have something to say about Ollie Ollie World here in just a moment. So, Travis, let's start to wrap the show up here. We have a few minutes left, and let's discuss what we have been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What do you got?
Yeah, we played Extraction with Jacob the other night. Interesting thing about the game is like it's with 3 people on a harder difficulty, it's still easier than with 2 people on easy.
It is, yeah.
Which goes to show you like you need some help when you play the game. But we managed to rescue all of my operators, which was a wonderful. It's really satisfying to sneak up on those pods and then rip them open with your knife.
I agree.
Fucking love that. I don't know why that's so satisfying. Also, when you get like a headshot and their heads pop, love it. But anyway, yeah, a lot of fun. The game's a lot more fun the more you understand it and kind of what and you have a strategy down with your partners. Like that's what makes the game fun. Playing with randoms would be difficult, I think, for sure, especially if you're not talking. But when you got a good crew, it's a lot of fun. It's not that it's not challenging at times. There was a couple of times where we got pretty close to losing.
Yeah.
One of us had to be a hero. So it's still a good time. I enjoy it thoroughly.
Hero, baby. Yeah.
And,
what else you been playing?
Played some FIFA. Rocking and rolling with Stevenage. I'm just my goalie finally made it to an 80. So once you get people in the 80s, high 70s, 80s, you're Premier League good, and it starts to really show. Like I'm in the championship. I think I'm in like December, maybe. No, maybe I'm January. I have Loftus Cheek, so I must be in January. I must have gotten through the transfer window. You could tell when you finally get to that point, because I finally got to that point where I had people in the 70s and 80s, and like I'm actually competitive now with those Premier League teams. Like before, whenever I played them, for me to beat one, like I went into shootout with one, and it took everything I had, and I lost. And I finally won one in a shootout, and then like I might win 4-3, like it was just impossible. But now that I'm getting guys up there, you can actually play defense and move the ball a little bit. You still have to be a little more strategic on offense just because the defense is better.
Right.
Yeah, it's easier, I guess I could say. So anyway, I'm having a blast with that. We'll see how long it lasts. I don't know if I'll restart with a really terrible team and then with, maybe I'll try to make it really hard and only use people from, England or something like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But that's a good time, and I've been kicking around buying that or playing that game on PlayStation now, that World War II game I sent you, that the name I couldn't
Yeah.
get right.
Yeah, it
Um,
looks cool. It looks
I
cool.
still haven't played it. It looks like it's a decent, it would be a decent chance to platinum that game if I played it. I think it's like a 10 or 15-hour game.
Mhm.
The artwork is really cool. It's kind of I don't know what you just like. It's a cartoonish, but it's kind of like Coraline the way it looks with the faces and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know. I can't decide what I think about it. So we'll see. It's interesting, but who knows?
Yeah, I think it's on sale for like $8. I think it's normally 20.
Mhm.
So I looked it up after you told me about it. It looks very cool.
Yeah, it has some
Uh,
decent ratings. I think it's a higher rating on Steam than anything else, but
oh,
that's usually the case.
yeah. Steam's a good barometer. It's a pretty good barometer. I use that a lot to look things up, especially the recent reviews. Let's see. So I also played some FIFA 22 this week, although not a whole lot. I've been very distracted this week. Nobody's really been on the game with me, so I've kind of went down different rabbit holes, as we're going to find out here. But like you said, last weekend we did play Extraction with Jacob, and I just really enjoy that game. It's very satisfying on the DualSense controller. Like you said, satisfying to rip those things open. It's just a well done game,
Mhm.
and it's not broken, and it's awesome.
And I always forget about the drone. I never think to use the drone. I'm like,
Yeah,
let's just sneak around. Like, I can just use the drone, like, and
yeah,
mark.
yeah. Use that thing, and let's find this shit. So I also played some Insurgency by myself one night to get some footage for YouTube, and I fucking went off one game. I had like 54 kills one game.
Damn.
It was co-op, so I won't get too excited. I won't puff my chest too much, but still, I was carrying the team on my back, and so I posted a little clip of that on Twitter. It got really intense at one point, and me and the other guy left alive, he was a commander, which means he could call in like airstrikes and stuff. And so I was just like, it was a very like cinematic moment. I was fighting off a big rush of guys, and he was trying to call in a strafing run, and he got it in just in time and cleared the checkpoint with a strafing run, and we spawned the rest of the team after we took the objective. So
That's
it
awesome.
was it was cool. And then also played some Rayman Origins on the PS Vita, the Vita this week, and the Rayman games are just fantastic on Vita, especially on the OLED, which is where I play them at. And great platforming games, highly rated games, fun to play, fantastic music, just something I like to pop into every now and then. And then also played a free to play game called Warface, which is a first person shooter, and it is not all that bad. Honestly, it is very janky. It looks like a game from from PS3, like early PS4 days, which it is. I think it came out in like 2014. Not very good graphics, but the gameplay itself is fun. And I meant to just play it for like 20 minutes one night and ended up playing it for like an hour and a half for really no good reason. And so just a neat little game, but had to delete it to make room for Horizon. So that's that. Just was kind of in a mood one night. And then the last thing is I did play Ollie Ollie World. I have it. It came out this week, and I like you mentioned, I was having an issue on the second day. I like couldn't see any of the menu text or anything like that. Like I could play the game, but all the text was invisible. The next day when I booted it up, though, it wasn't doing that. So what I can say about this game, I'm still not through like the world is broken up into like 4 or 5 different sections, like islands or something. And it's a very like Mario style like map where you like move along it and hit these different stops along the way. But I'm still on the tutorial island. So and the reason why is because the game is addicting. And I have a problem with trying to get all 3 challenges on each little level along the way. So I find myself just like replaying it, trying to get the
Mhm.
challenges. Very fun, cool little skateboarding game, just a different kind of change of pace. It reminds me of like the older Housemarque games like Next Machina, where you're kind of like score chasing and stuff. And I find that stuff very attractive, and it has the hooks in me.
So like the original Tony Hawk.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, in a way. So it's very it'll get you, man. It'll get you. You're score chasing, and then you're like combo chasing, and then you have these challenges you're trying to hit, like don't hit any seagulls or whatever. Don't use a certain type of trick, and I don't know. It's fun. So I can recommend it, at least at this point, and I'm really enjoying it. So that is all for me, and I think that's all for the show. We'll get out of here. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll be waiting for you in your feeds on Monday. Also, if you'd be kind enough to subscribe, or not subscribe, I just said that if you would review us or leave a rating like stars or thumbs up or whatever is on your podcast feed, that would be much appreciated. And then finally, if you would be kind enough to share us with a friend, we would appreciate that as well. Don't forget to find us on social media feeds, Twitter at the DualSense Pod, Instagram and Facebook to chat with us, or check out our blog, the DualSense Podcast.wordpress.co. You guys take care. Have a good week. We'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.